Welcome to our L&D Backstage session. Hope you're all excited to hear Alex sharing how to make crazy ideas work in a traditional organization. I know I am. Let us know in the chat where you're joining from, if you are also a part of a traditional organization if you want. But yeah, let us know where you're joining from. As you all know, the L&D Backstage sessions are for one member of the L&D Shakers to showcase what they've been working on, a project, topic, anything. And today I'm super duper excited to have Alejandro in to share about this topic. As you know, and I think we all struggle a lot on how to make things work in a more traditional organizational or traditional setups with shop floor employees, blue collars. So I'm specifically excited that we have you today. So without further ado, and keeping in mind everyone's time, Alex, I would hand over to you, and you can see we have people from everywhere: Oslo, Amsterdam. You take it.
Well, thank you, Anna. I don't know if there are others on my side of the world from across the pond, but yeah, thank you for this moment and everyone who joined. I'm Alejandro. I am from Nicaragua, but I live in Sao Paulo in Brazil. So I wouldn't be surprised if none of you or almost anyone here has ever heard of Nicaragua or met anyone from there. I'm quite used to that, but yeah, it's a small country in Central America, and somehow I made it out of it. And yeah, I've been working here in Sao Paulo for about 4 years and 9 years or so in HR, learning and development. And I've been on Shakers on this community, this beautiful community, for about 2.5 years now or so, which I found out of pure chance, and I loved it. It's been a fantastic journey since I joined the Shakers, and I found so much and I've learned so much. So I'm happy to give back to the community. So yeah, without further ado, I'll start. So it's great to have everyone here. I see someone mentioned Nicaragua here. Wait, what did you say? Someone, I saw Nicaragua on the chat. Oh yeah, I had a colleague from Nicaragua, Angela. Awesome. That's great. So I'm just gonna share my screen for a second. I'm sorry, I'm not used to Zoom. So if I made a mistake or two, I'll try to, how do you share screen? Okay, there you go. Can you see my screen? Yeah.
Yep, we're seeing your screen. Yeah, perfect now.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, as I said, I'm Alejandro. I've been living in Sao Paulo here for about 5 years, and last week I was my second anniversary in this company called Alcoa. So I'm going to give an introduction to a little bit of Alcoa and what I've been doing here, and we as L&D have been doing over the past 2 years. But right before that, I just want to ask, and you can answer in the chat, before we answer to that question, does anybody know what's that? Anyone has ever heard of Alcoa or has any notion of what the company is or what we do? Yeah, it's a lot of nopes. I only see the messages popping up. So, and if someone asks a question or something, I will love if you could let me know.
I'll let you know. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So almost no one has heard about Alcoa, and it's the same exact case for me. I had no idea what Alcoa was when they reached out to me. I had no interest whatsoever in working in mining and metals. My past, I had worked in KPMG in a big consulting firm for about 6-7 years. So I was quite comfortable. And but I love the challenge, which I'll explain in a second. I'll just have to find a way to stop sharing and show you this very quick video. I just have to do some advertisement for Alcoa, so I have to play this video. There you go.
Our story began with the thought of possibility. Through innovation and hard work, we launched an industry and changed the way we live, build, move, and fly. Now, there are new paths to forge and processes to perfect. But what drives us still holds true. We stand firm with the integrity, care, excellence, and courage that has always defined our character. Our determination overcomes doubt. When we tap the ingenuity in each of us, we unleash brilliance that can change the world. Because we turn ideas into innovation, impossibility into impact, what if into what is. We are Alcoa. We turn raw potential into real progress.
Okay, so there you go. Now we can get back to the presentation. I hope everyone could hear and see the video properly. But yeah, so ever had to navigate your way through a traditional organization promoting learning and development? I'll go ahead and ask all this and answer all these questions that Anna put on the very generous invitation to this session. And yeah, this has been my story over the past couple of years. As I said, I've had no interest or experience working in a company such as Alcoa. And I had the gigantic mission to build from scratch our learning and development team. And we'll create everything that I'm going to show you right now. So, which I didn't have any experience with. And somehow it has worked out so far. So yeah, Alcoa, basically what we do is, it was the first company that found a way to produce aluminum in a sustainable way. So before that, it was even more expensive than gold because it was so useful but so rare. So we invented that system. And if there's someone from Great Britain here, we invented the tea kettle. So you're welcome for that. And we also, the parts for an airplane, for cars, for stuff like that, it were invented by Alcoa or provided by Alcoa at the beginning. Also aluminum foil, we invented that as well. And most importantly, beer cans. It was our invention. So you're all welcome for that. At least I know I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, and that's the non-serious version of what we do. This is just a very, very quick overview of the aluminum cycle. So basically we mine a rock called bauxite. We then rehabilitate the land in the most environmental way, friendly way possible. We transform that bauxite and we refine it into alumina, which is a very white dust. And then we transform that into a big thing called anode. It's a gigantic rock that we then smelt into aluminum. And then that aluminum is that other companies use to manufacture products and then recycle them. And for example, the 90% of the aluminum that we recycle in Brazil goes back to Alcoa, basically. So yeah, it's a very interesting process. I did not see it interesting 2 years ago, but now, and I have to promote it, it's actually kind of interesting when you see one of the plants. And at least the first time I went there, I'm based in Sao Paulo, as I said, but when I went to one of the plants, it felt like Disneyland for adults and for engineers and for people who work in this, because it's something gigantic. And the dimensions of it, how people mobilize from one place to the other, it just opens your eyes, because I was used to KPMG where everyone had a notebook and everyone had easy access to, well, training, learning spaces. So if I wanted to, I don't know, bring a digital transformation program, I could bring a gamification app and people will log in and that was it. But when I think about that in this context, you have a plant that's gigantic and where people who want to go to a training, participate in training, have to take an actual bus that will take about 45 minutes to take you to training centers, and then you can access a live session. Or in the other plant, for example, which is in the Amazon, where we mine bauxite, sometimes we will have to wait for the bus that will take it from the mine to the port or HR or all the administrative buildings. That will take about an hour, and then you can participate in a live session, and then you have to go back to the mine. So yeah, visiting the plants was eye-opening because it was not an easy context for what we were trying to achieve. So in hindsight, that's Alcoa, that's what we do. And yeah, I got here. I love the proposition because they were investing a lot in HR and HR as a whole, and part of it was learning and development. So they wanted me to start this process, to create our structure, framework, or strategy, create the actual team, and well, everything that I'm going to show right now, because there was nothing, basically. It was kind of forgotten for the last 6 or 5 years after a big separation in the company globally. And L&D was just a part of HR. So you had like a business partner that will do, I don't know, how do you say, when you have work-related problems like work accidents and stuff like that, but also we'll do training and we'll also do birthday parties and stuff like that. So it was one thing inside of a bunch of things in HR. So now we have a bunch of structured departments, including mine. And I did this research internally, a bunch of focus groups and workshops and surveys, and talked to a lot of people and got to this conclusion. And I love this graphic because I think it explains quite well. This is the evolution of learning systems over the past 25, 30 years. And I got to the conclusion that we in Brazil, at least in Alcoa Brazil, we were here. We're 1996. We're focusing on training and certification, and the shiny new thing was e-learning delivery. I mean, we still saw e-learning like this big, amazing thing that you will create an app to your LMS and people will love it. And yeah, it's still okay, but I mean, it's not exactly shiny and new. It was still quite old. So my proposal was that if we did this and that and a few other things, we could get here quite fast, which was about 2005 or so. Yes, continue with training and certification because we need that in this sort of company. Yes, continue with the learning, but actually adopt blended learning, not just say that we're going to do that and no one really participates in blended learning. They have to go to the way to training centers, or if not, they don't have any access to, well, to training opportunities. Also in the company, they love to say the 70-20-10. I'm assuming everyone says that, but nothing actually happened regarding informal learning. So that there was another thing that we proposed and moved from training to talent development. So that was my goal for the midterm, the first 2-3 years, and then eventually get to here, which is having all that, but also focus on social and mobile learning, users being a part of the learning experience and building stuff with us, learning analytics, and well, ideally a mindset transformation. So why all of that? And that's we put all that into our strategy, which is based in 6 points that's subdivided into 3 or something. So we have a learning culture, which is what we want to establish. That's what we want to happen here. So learning becomes inherent, something that people just do. They don't think about it, it's more work. And for that, we need people who are protagonists of their own development. Then now we have the academies as a thing I'm going to show you right now, which is the content we've developed and the programs and everything we offer, and a knowledge management system. And the last part is focusing on our people. So we offer a consistent user experience. Before it used to be like we have 3 plants here. So in the smaller plant in Brazil, since they have a lower budget and least resources, so they will do whatever they can, like internally or well, whatever they had there. They were capable of doing. But in another plant that was much bigger and budget was gigantic, they could they literally bought VR headsets to do some shiny new trainings, but without a strategy. So after a year, they have a couple of trainings there, and it's been 4 or 5, and they're just there. So yeah, offering a consistent user experience and sustainability in terms of what we do. Like we build something that's not in my head or anyone in my team's head. It's something that's will stay. So if tomorrow I leave the company, the cycle continues. What we're trying to build continues. So yeah, that's a gigantic overview on Alcoa, what we've been doing. Now getting to the fun part. Yeah, so I proposed a bunch of things, and at the beginning I used to show this as things that will happen, that I would love to happen, that we will do. It was all in the future tense. So this is our logo, which we linked with the four business goals, which was part of people, environment, health and safety, future focus, and technical performance. And I said, we're going to develop stuff for all of those pillars. They're going to be organized into these 4 categories. And at the beginning, I used to show this saying, okay, yeah, in a year from now, we're going to have this, and we're going to have that, and we're going to launch this. So it was a bunch of stuff that were not there. Today, I can show you this, and this is all happening. These are all different programs and different solutions and different micro-learning bites that we offer, and a learning festival, and a podcast, and a ton of stuff that extremely tiring and extremely frustrating that people are not making the most out of it so far. But it's, yeah, we have an actual ecosystem, an actual learning ecosystem finally. So but before that, so answering to the question, ever had to navigate through a traditional organization? You can imagine by what the context I gave you that yes, it is one. It's quite complicated with IT, with procurement, with communications, with anything. It's extremely bureaucratic and very slow. So what I had to do to actually get to this point is to focus on these 3 parts, which was what the business wanted: environment, health, and safety, the technical performance, and innovation and digital transformation that everyone wants that. So we started developing solutions for those parts as well. I'm going to show you a couple of examples and the result, the impact that had on the company and on our team. So for example, this was one of the things. Just ignore all the little facts, but basically what we did is that for EHS, meaning environment, health, and safety, we had a a bunch of mandatory trainings that you have to take when you join the company, because if not, you can't go in the plants. So for this, we reviewed all that content, and along with the EHS specialists and our team and whatever, and we reduced the workload from 37 hours to 19, so almost half the load. And that ended up in saving the company millions of the local currency in terms of the time people spend during onboarding, our team in logistics. And then we also digitized all of this, so we also have the flexibility to access online. So yeah, it was about $1 million, a little bit more that we saved the company just by doing this, something that seems kind of simple. So a girl on my team, I don't know if she's in here right now, we're in the office actually, so she should be in another room, but Livia, she called this hacking the culture. So we hacked the culture, and due to that, we save a bunch of money. And on the eyes of our leadership, yes, we were actually bringing a return on investment to the company, which is, I know, it's so hard for us in learning and development to prove. So that's just one example, but I have a couple more. There's another one. We needed a knowledge management system because of the type of work that we do. There's a lot of knowledge it's not in a guidebook or it's not in a manual. It's people learning by experience, 20 years of experience. So we needed a place where we could have that along with the guides and manuals and everything you need to know to understand a process. So you accelerate the way you learn to actually work on an activity. So we created just that. And last year, we started the process for one of the parts of the plant, the smelter. We created this knowledge management system where you have all the 7 main activities and you have all the content you need to access it, whether you want to fully understand the entire activity or just a video that explains in 2 minutes everything that's happening there. And well, everything you need, it's there. And what happened when we showcased this, not just to our leadership in that plant, but also to the global team that was making a visit that week that we showed it, they loved it. So we hacked the culture again. And because of that, I got an approval to have launch a learning festival later that year. So I was not able to plan and to have this learning festival before, because we had to show to the company that we were also doing stuff for the technical part, for the environment, health and safety part, because that's what the business was needing, what they were expecting from us. So yeah, it's been a journey like that. Like I give you a little bit of what you want, then I can do whatever I want. And it has worked perfectly. And I have a bunch of cases like that. Like for example, we call it learning spaces. So what happened is that we started with this learning, with this knowledge management system, but then a lot of people didn't have access. So we proposed this. So we have a bunch of meeting rooms in the several parts of the plants, they're not being used. So why don't we transform those into something a little bit more shiny and something with a tablet and a notebook and a TV where people can access our content? And yeah, we got approval because the idea was so good before for a knowledge management system that this just made sense. So again, we hacked the culture. And
sorry, Alex, just before you move forward, we have a question in the chat from Emilia regarding the previous example, asking if you know if anyone went through the whole content instead of just the videos.
Yeah, so for example, whoever actually works in those areas or are transitioning to that department, yeah, because before we have a thing called learning on the job. So you will join a new activity or whatever, you will read your guides and manuals or whatever, then you will perform the activity, and your manager or whoever, your supervisor, will just give you feedback while you're doing it. It obviously works because we've been doing it for 140 years, but it shouldn't just be that. So this is an extra. So if you're going to a new department, you have to know things before. So you just get there to like ask questions or just perfect some things. You already know that before. So whoever has to work in that department actually does it, and they're using it to formal trainings as well. And if it's only like you want to know more about how the activity is, or if you're like in administrations or finance or whatever, just want to understand how it works, just have a look at the videos and you get a clear explanation on overall what the process is. So one last thing that we've been being able to hack the culture. So we had another demand that was creating a digital transformation program. Like every single company in the world probably has a need like that, or from leadership, they want something like that. So yeah, we created, I don't know what happened, but we partnered with a school here in Brazil, and we created this program for 30 superintendents and a couple of managers in operations, with about 20 hours of content in about 6 months, focused on digital mindset and transformation, agility, industry trends, whatever. And while that happened, I had a gigantic task of proving to the business, like, what was the return on investment, right? Was it only going to be like NPS and engagement and participation, or do we actually have a way of proving this works, this makes sense? So yeah, what I thought, and after taking a course last year where I learned about the learning evidence, I don't know the exact translation, but it was something like that. If I wanted my certificate, I had to prove to everyone there that I learned something. So I loved the concept and I brought it here. So we put this challenge in these 30 participants that a month after it finished, they had to present to all their managers, our plant managers, our CEO, and the entire HR leadership as well, a project connecting some of the things that you learn into an actual project that will, I don't know, improve something, digitally transform something in your departments. And that's just what happened. We had 23 out of 30, and it was from anything you can imagine. I have no idea, to be honest, how to translate some of these things because they're way too technical, but I love seeing one of them live. Like, for example, this first one, this guy showed a video of, it's an activity that you do in like very small spaces. So there's a lot of risk involved, like human errors, like when you're analyzing data or stuff that's happening, but also accidents because people can get dizzy and fall, or, you know, that kind of things. So this guy took the drone, he got all the approvals tested, he went there and showed a video doing the same activity with a drone without the risk of people getting hurt, and the activity performed with 100% accuracy because it was done by a robot. So yeah, that, for example, will already help the business in terms of, like, one of our goals is having no accidents in every year, like any fatalities or anything like that. So this minimizes, I don't know, hundreds of people, hundreds of activities every single year for our plants. And aside from that, we had a bunch of projects already in motion or testing, others that were planned, but this was a fantastic return for the company. Like CEO, for example, we was ecstatic, just asking a lot of questions. When will it start? And yeah, it was a way of proving that, you know, when you invest in learning and development, you can get results like that. You can save actually millions to the company. So this was another example of hacking the culture, because right after that, and the next one I have, we got the approval for having hiring another person for our team. So I'm not gonna continue with this. It's another part for inclusion and diversity, but it's more of the same. We've been able to hack the culture several times because we give the company something they want, they expect, they need, and we get something we want, which is do a lot of crazy and fun stuff. And because of that, in March 2021, it was just me. Soon after, we were 4. And now, as of last month, we were 10. We're now 10 people in the team. We've grown from 1 to 10 in about 18, 20 months, basically. And our structure is very well distributed. We have a lot of solutions that we offer to the entire company, a lot of programs in motion. And the recognition that we've had, not just in Brazil, but globally, has had a gigantic impact in the fact that, for example, what we're doing here, what we call Alcoa Academy, it's starting to grow in Australia as well. They're starting to hire more people, having the same structure as we do. And Norway, on Monday, I had a message from my peer from there. They are hiring an intern. Yeah, it's just an intern, you can say, but it's someone. They had no one before that. So they're hiring an intern that will help in content creation from the technical part. And if we could help by training him while he begins in the company. So yeah, we're starting to have a gigantic impact in a company that did not invest in learning and development 2 years ago. Not just the growth here in Brazil, as I said, but globally. So I think that for me, there are hundreds of things we've done, but I can stay here for like 3 hours saying a lot of things we've done, but this for me has been the biggest achievement so far. Before I move to the next question, any of this made sense? Do you have any questions? Anyone want to share something that was a similar situation to you guys? I'm assuming there are no questions or comments.
I can just say I fully relate, and seeing this and seeing the great improvements that you were able to achieve, it's also inspiring me a little bit more, because yeah, I'm coming more and more to the understanding. And Emilia, this is also from your comment. I think marketing and L&D, or communication and L&D, go hand in hand together. And if you hack the way to get to the management and to the CEO, then you're on the right track. So thank you for sharing. Love that.
Yeah, so in the way, it's just hacking the culture is a fun way of putting it. But in the end, it's just that. I mean, in life, it's just like that. You give people what they want, and then you get a free pass to do some other things. So it's just negotiating, promoting stuff properly. Marketing is essential for us. And one of the things I'll mention right now, it's we rebranded ourselves, like actually pay the company to create our branding. So we invested a lot on that, because it just, if you're starting a learning and development team from scratch, did it make sense to just continue communicating the same way you've been doing it for 10 years? So yeah, I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, so the next question. Ever thought about how to create space for people to learn, bringing different styles and formats into a traditional organization? I think a lot of the things I mentioned kind of align with that, but getting more specific, about the branding. We actually created our own logo, and we have a branding guidelines full of how we should communicate to our people. And the way we like send actual invites and communications, stuff like that, it's more like this. We went from something more full of text, and it was all blue and white. It's still blue and white, but in a different way. We went from very traditional communications that were full of text and people would not read that, to something with more people in it, to what the details that you need, like the date of when it's going to happen, the hour, how you can access content. It's just easier to understand it when you send it that way. So we communicate in a different way. We also invest a lot on microlearning. And here's where it gets tricky, because for a bunch of things here, I didn't get an approval, or not fully approval. So I had to just play my way around. So for example, the first one on the left, it's a concept I took from Google called Whisper Courses that I actually found on Shaker. So thank you for that. And we just rebranded to Pocket Learning. And yeah, it's just explaining a concept through an email, basically. So this one based on life-wide learning, just a quick concept, how you can use it in the practice, and some tips. If you want to learn more about it, here's a book or a video or an article or whatever. So we send that every Monday. And one thing that happened, for example, at the end of the year, is that this was widely known now, because everyone gets this. But at the end of the year, there was some kind of incident in one of the plants, and they had to, there was like a call to action for safety and environment. So we partnered with our regional safety team to create like a special edition of this Pocket Learning for 5 weeks. And it had a gigantic impact, because the company saw there was a need. No one knew exactly how to react, how to pass the message that we have to focus more on this and that. And we from Alcoa Academy brought this. So it was visual. It's something that in the other locations around across the globe was not happening. So it was awesome for us, because it gave great visibility. And yeah, well, a bunch of things, but I'm just gonna focus on two because it's more of a working your way through bureaucracy. So for example, I got here and accessibility was an issue. We have an LMS called Workday Learning. It's okay, but for a company like this, it's just too many buttons, and it's not practical for people who don't have time to, who don't have easy access to a notebook, who they're just running around in an actual fabric or an actual plant trying to get things done. So you lose them if you have to take like 5 clicks to get to a place. So yeah, they didn't allow us to bring a new LMS or a nothing mobile. So, okay, we figured something out. Let's just bring this QR code that we have spread across the plants. We have in the restaurants, we have in the different departments from each area. We put stickers on the buses that will take you from the city to the plants. To put them everywhere. And in there, we upload all of our micro-learning bites. So podcast, this pocket learning thing, learning pills, a bunch of things. What's the problem though? That obviously this is not an LMS. This is not in any way a proper learning management system. It's just an actual QR code where you can host content. No, not even content, but links to content. So it was better than nothing, but still it's not ideal. It just gave me so many headaches. So, but the thing is that we can already get some data that helps us understand people, and we also bring content to them. So for example, over the last year and a little bit more, we've had 12,000 QR codes, almost 12,000 QR code scans, but out of those, only about 70% actually access to content. So what's happening with almost 4,000 people who get there, they take the time to scan that, and they just don't want to, consume anything. Why not? We also found that the 96% of the people, 94% of the people access through mobile. So that's definitely something they do. It's not an assumption that everybody goes on their phones and access content. It's like a reality. And we also noticed that the best time of the day for them to access content was lunch. So obviously the QR codes that we put in the restaurants, and they, in those 30 minutes, 45 minutes, made an impact, because people will scan it and try to consume something while they were having lunch. So yeah, not ideal. Definitely not recommended the way we did it, but absolutely better than nothing. We are able to bring this content to the shop floor that they had access to nothing before, and we get little, but yeah, we get some data explaining how they behave, what they like. Lunchtime, for example, they make the most out of that time to learn, apparently. And another case is for this podcast. I got an approval for that. The idea came up, I got an approval, but they say, okay, yeah, but you can't use any traditional platforms. You can't put it on Spotify, Apple Music, or whatever, and you didn't have any budget for it. So figure something out, but you can do it. So we did. We thought of this format. We put a name to it. We invite people from inside the company. And we talk about strategic initiatives or projects or something that's essential in the moment. We talk about stuff from the company. So, but then this girl started in our team. I don't know if she's here, but if you are, you can say hi, Livia. And she came up with the idea to how to make it better. So how to make it more accessible, how to get data so we can understand how people are behaving and understanding the podcast, and a few other things that made a gigantic difference. So we record this internally on Teams, which like very non-professionally on Teams. Then we edit the recording, we put it on Rise 360 in this format like this, like very simple. And then the actual video, it's on SoundCloud, but in a private environment. So that way we can get the data, and the company's not mad at us because we're using a traditional platform. They access through Rise in the end. And with that, we know one thing, for example, as you can see here, that only 107 people access the podcast in like a week. Like I had the assumption with like a company with like 8,000 people that it was never going to be half of that accessing. But for me, because I didn't have any data before, I thought it was going to be like 20. So 107 for me is just fantastic. I was not expecting anything, and I got such a big number. And we also got the numbers on where people are accessing. So we got a big surprise, people having from our locations in the US and Australia, they were actually also accessing the podcast. And we started getting feedback as well. Feedback in terms of, hey, then in this one, we should have one on cyber attacks or something about data. So this guy clearly is from IT. So yeah, we got recommendations on more topics. So yeah, we don't have the best way of creating a podcast, a corporate podcast. We don't have the best platform, and we have no experience whatsoever, but we are delivering content to our people on the shop floor and people in the entire organization. That's the people like it, that they access it, and they're actually consuming this. The fact is that not many people know about it. That's why the numbers are so low, but it's good. It will just take time, but it's working. At least I like to believe it's working. And yeah, I could go on for a little bit more like that, but I'm gonna bore you with that. I think the last thing that's worth mentioning that we launched these influencers, internal influencers. So it was for people who facilitate trainings internally, but we're also taking it to the next level. So people who create content for us, people who identify opportunities for innovation. There'll be a formal category for them, like innovation influencers or something like that. We still haven't figured out the name, but the thing is that we're exploring this concept a little bit more this year. And the fact that we started that right at the beginning gave us a very consistent experience in the quality of our sessions. So almost everything that we create, it stays with a number like that, like 85 NPS minimum, which is something that we wanted, something that people, like you will access a microlearning by, you can access training, of technical training, or something more like I don't know, soft skills, and it was all good. We wanted that for everyone. So we've been able to do that, to deliver that. And yeah, I just wanted to ask you, is this the case in any of your companies? Do you constantly need to hack the culture or work your way around bureaucracy?
Absolutely. And I think this is also the question that Vikas is asking. in the chat, for instance, how do we narrow down the right LMS for such large organizations? So I think people are aware on how much process is relevant here, or who are the most valuable partners to create all of this. It's, I don't know, Alex, if you had more people than the L&D, like if you also worked with agencies, or if this was all done in-house, but maybe interesting to also share a bit there.
Yeah. So aside from our branding, as I said, we pay for another design company to do that. Everything that I show you, we created internally, like every single thing. And obviously, we do need to partner very much with the business because, well, we're not talking about, I don't know, any soft skills or whatever that any person can learn. These are technical stuff. Most of it is technical. So we have a program for safety technicians. I have no idea what that is. So I had to partner with our safety team regionally. And we act more as consultants, and we design stuff and we create stuff, and we host the podcast and stuff like that. But the actual content comes from the business, so we partner with them. But yeah, all internally, almost all.
And then there's Nima in the chat also saying that they do the same because LMS suffers from the same problem. So they use SharePoint to build the little mobile LMS, as she calls it. Yeah, I also do the same, Nima. I'm also working for Continental. We also have a big LMS, and we're also more and more integrating with already existing tools, like doing it in-house as well, and having SharePoint to just make access a bit easier. Emilia is also asking, and I think a lot of questions are coming in. Alex, so in case people I cannot keep up with everything, you can also just open the mic. But we have a question on if there are data analysts on the team, or if you collaborate with any other teams to measure impact and gather insights as well.
Yeah, so we don't have any like proper data analysts on the team. We have one person who has she has data in her mind, and she finds different ways of measuring the impact of her solutions, which I think she said hi earlier on, so she must be here. So yeah, we don't have that, but we also use a lot of data that we collect from like organization surveys, like, Great Place to Work and the internal survey. And for all that, we get a lot of data for training, for learning and development. And we've seen a gigantic rise in the numbers from before we launched the Alcoa Academy and now. Like in Great Place to Work survey last year, the first phrase you read, like there's like the beginning, like the highlights. So the first phrase you read is that learning and development was the big highlight for this year's Great Place to Work. So it started saying that we are doing the best job in the company, basically, at least over the last year. But yeah, we use that data as well.
And then some more questions here. That is, how do you convince business to give you the time for content creation if this is an internal struggle?
We did it. We just actually did it. I mean, I got a lot of freedom to propose. So sometimes, yeah, you do work a little bit more than you should, but we just play around a lot. We create a lot of formats. We test a lot, and most of the things that I show you, no one like said we should do this or that. We just came up with it, we showed it and say, okay, let's try this. And it worked, or we thought it worked. And we continue to do that. Like we also, for example, create a lot of content with Articulate. We have one license that we can all share. And with that, I did we analyzed how much will it cost if we did it with the companies, vendors in Brazil. And with about 30 courses that we created out of 100 and something, but just with those 30, that saved the company about, I don't know how much in dollars, but it'll be $150,000 because we did it internally, paying a license that cost $1,200 a year. So yeah, that's a way we convince the business that this is a good idea because we're not investing much and we're producing a lot.
Yeah, awesome. And we also have a question here. If you have your own L&D budget, and I don't know if Julia or Julia's case, they don't have any budget for the team and have to wait for a department to come with the requests to them so that they are willing to take the cost. How does it work for you?
Kind of similar to that. It was more annoying when I got here because there was absolutely no L&D budget. I mean, not defined at least. It was, and it still kind of is like that, but it's so much more organized now. it's like every department in each location, in each of our plants, have their own training budget. So if you have we have the safety department in one of the plants have, I don't know, $10,000 for training. Then the other one, another one has 15, and the other one has 20,000. So we bring it now. We organize. We use that all together, and we bring regional solutions instead of like one for one plant and another one different for another one. So yeah, we just handle the money that they already had in a better way, basically.
Okay, awesome. And there's also still another question that is with regards to the marketing materials, if your L&D team creates them or if you're using a marketing team.
Yeah, so as I said, we bought a brand. I mean, we had an idea, they made it real. And with that idea, they also brought branding guidelines or logo in different formats, the invitations and PowerPoint presentation templates and a bunch of stuff. So my point was that we have a team that's none of us are designers or work with marketing. We have like on-the-job experience, but nothing formal like that. So I wanted something that would make their life simpler. So if we had a program and you were responsible for the logistics and all that, and also the marketing, the communications, you will have your own brand. So you can just take a template, play around with it, make it a little bit more personalized, but you have something to start with. So that helped a lot because before, first, we didn't have any consistency. We tried to do something different, but we didn't follow the same logic or same visual experience between all the different programs or whatever. But that was one point. And the other was that it would take too long because even myself, I mean, my creativity just runs out after a while. So this really helps you have a base. You pick a template and you have to change a little bit the colors or figures or a little bit, you do it, but you already have a template and guidelines and whatever.
Awesome. And I feel like a lot of people were also sharing here in the comment, Alex, that they also do need to hack the culture. So like chipping chipping away is a good idea. People really like the podcast. Maybe this is something that they could also take. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot of people here understanding where you're coming from and also facing the same struggles.
Yeah, I think I exaggerated a little bit the hacking the culture thing because it was something that the company, at least my leadership, my HR director, the CEO in Brazil, they wanted this change. So I didn't need an intense convincing, but I did needed to show the company our worth and what we were capable of doing and return on investment. So obviously we all do have to do that, but I needed a little bit more in order to do more of the things that we wanted, like the different things. And like the Learning Festival, that's my next point. It was an idea that was bought because we show a bunch of things over there, the period of like May until July or so from last year. All of the things we did then bought us the idea of the festival. So are there any questions for now, or should I jump to that part?
Not in the chat.
Okay, so the last question. Did you ever think to make a learning festival happen, even without having a clue of what will be the result and still aim at success? Yeah, so that's exactly what happened. One day in a weekly meeting in a team, we just had the idea. I mean, why not? And I actually just, when we thought of the structure, I was going to Primavera Sound Festival. I thought we should just do the same thing, but look, we're learning. So yeah, the idea came out like out of us suddenly. And we wanted it to be it was a year anniversary since we launched Alcoa Academy. And the thing is that we thought about it like in April, May or something, but we needed to sell to the company something before we will get an actual approval, because they will say, what do you want to do this when you have a bunch of things for the technical part that we haven't done yet? So that knowledge management system was the perfect example. We showcased that, as I said, to a global team. They loved the idea. We got the approval to continue working on that project, and we've moved ahead so much over the last year, and to also do it for the smelters in the company globally. So we already started conversations with Norway and with Iceland, Spain, and other of our locations to start doing the same thing for them. And so yeah, we got all that. And then when we proposed the festival, it was like, okay, why not? I mean, you're already doing so much, so go ahead. So yeah, we did just that. I've never organized anything like that before. No one on my team had organized anything like that before. So as I said, we just took inspiration from Primavera Sound Festival, and I picked the logistics of it, and I say, hey, we should put something together just like this, and let's get creative. Let's have sessions early in the morning for people who finish their shifts at like 8 in the morning so they can access to. Let's have sessions in the night. People at home, for example, let's make a session on how to make pizza. And my boss, she's a fantastic cook and she can make amazing pizza. So I wanted her to do that. And at night, we just, whoever registers, you will send them the recipe and you just cook while she's doing it as well. So do stuff like that. But also we had a lot of training sessions on the technical part. We had a lot of intercultural diversity, I don't know, musical therapy. I don't know how you say that in English, but that thing. So it was very diverse from the business, from soft skills, from craziness, different times and different times of the day. So yeah, and we just rest. And this is what happened. We had 25 sessions in 1 week, aside from 3 sessions, like a pre-festival. I had no idea what to expect, to be honest, but we had more than 5,000 participations. Like every single station had about 150 minimum people, but the happy sessions with 250, 300 people. I was not expecting any of that. And Power BI, like I know everyone's talking about stuff like that, but in this company, I was not expecting that one to be the one with the most access. We had more than 300 people wanting to learn about Power BI. And negotiation and influence, a bunch of things on the technical side. We had lunch and learns in which we will bring someone from other locations and they will just give an overview of who they are and what they do in their location. So we had one from Iceland and she just explained how they're doing in Iceland, the same thing that we're doing here in the northern part of the country, but surrounded by, polar bears and snow. The same thing we do it on the beach here. There's smelter operations, just the same thing. So they loved it. We had another one for Australia as well, and they loved it. So yeah, it was fantastic experience. We just had one problem because it was raining in one of the plants. And when it rains, the internet's not working. So that was unfortunate. But aside from that, it went incredibly smoothly. And the numbers were fantastic. As I said, the experience was consistent. So we had an NPS of 90 with so many hundreds of people chipping in, like responding to the feedback surveys, and in terms of learning applicability and the quality of the training, the format, if it's dynamic or not, it was all over the moon. I mean, everything was like 95 and above. And the comments, all the comments suggestions that we received, the comments during the sessions and the comments afterwards as well. Like I still get this, the CEO of the company here in Brazil still talks about what happened with the festival. I still ask me, when are we going to have, we're going to have another one this year. And we are now because we already did something that worked. And yeah, it was, I have no idea how we did this, to be honest. It just happened and it worked. And it's something that this year, we're going to do it and we're going to do it better and bigger and hope for the best, right? To do better than last year. But yeah, it was, we got to a point in which we could test and error a lot because we were showing the business that it's worth investing in learning and development, basically. And
awesome. There's one question on this, Alex, that is if you did anything in person as well. So this was a global initiative. Was everything online or was there anything also happening in person?
That's a great question. So it was only in Brazil. So for our 3 locations and in Sao Paulo. So we did a few hybrid sessions. Yeah, we had about 6 or 7 out of the 25 that were, there was a classroom with like 40 people in the plants, and then the rest of the people were online. As I said, there was only one problem because in one of them it rained. So when they were sharing their screen, you couldn't see and the video was not good. So the 40 people or so who were in the session, they were able to participate. It was great. But everyone who was online, like 20 minutes in the session, they had to like drop out. So that was the only problem. But aside from that, yeah, we had a few hybrid sessions. And for this year, we're definitely going to do more because we know it worked. Any other questions?
Not for now.
Well, and being conscious, yeah. Okay, being conscious of time, we're reaching the end of this. And since I have to close with a phrase or a question or something inspirational, my honest one will be this one. I'm just tired, to be honest. This is completely bananas. I was not ready for this. This is it's very tiring emotionally and like actually physically tiring. But yeah, no, the actual phrase will be something like this. you just have to be patient. There's a lot of things that you can't just run. And there are a lot of things that we needed to do when I got here, when the team started to grow, when more stuff was starting to happen. And yeah, a lot of the things were just, okay, no, but not right now. We didn't, at least I don't like to say to my team, we're not gonna do this. We're just, okay, we're gonna do that, but right now the timing is not right. Like, for example, the other day for one of our programs, one of the girls, she had an idea of adding a gamification element to these career acceleration programs. And the idea was very well built. It made sense. The thing is that the timing of it was 1 month before the launch of the 2023 program. So the timing was not right. So it's not a no, it's just not now. So a lot of the things that we do is just like that. We have a lot of ideas. I have a team that I'm very proud of the team. They've almost none of them had experience with learning and development, and they learned with me, or I hope they're learning with me at least. And they're very engaged. They're creative, they're proactive. And yeah, we don't have a team full of MBAs and PhDs and whatever. It's just a team that wants to do something good for the company and wants to learn. And yeah, we are patient and we're creative, and slowly we're getting results and going crazy slowly as well, but it's going. Yeah, it's happening. Yeah, that's it.
This is awesome. Thank you so much, Alex. There's also a lot of praise in the comments. Maybe you can also have a look at them. Sure. And that's a great way to wrap it up as well. So thank you, everyone, for having stayed with us until now. Thank you especially to you, Alex, for all the great work you're doing and for being so inspiring and sharing it with us. This was awesome. To everyone else that is here and may still have some more questions or just wants to reach out, Alex's LinkedIn profile is on the event as well, so you can just connect and get in touch there. And yeah, we look forward to continue hearing more about all the great projects in the next L&D Backstage session.
Yeah, please do feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. I love doing benchmark and sharing anything that we've done here. I just love to do that. So follow, if you want to have me on LinkedIn, send me a message. I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you. Okay, great. And for all the questions in the chat, yes, we will make the recording available in our YouTube channel, most likely during next week, but we keep you posted via Slack.
Thank you.
Okay, then thank you, everyone, and wishing you all a great day. Bye.
Ciao.